Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, really excited to see you, hear, whatever it is, however we are broadcasting. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you coming here. And I am incredibly excited today to have my business partner, Lurie Dontu, on here with us. And I will just introduce him in a moment. And we are going to be talking about his involvement and what miracles can only be described as miracles that he performs on creating and developing our open and running Aparthotel. So I know a lot of you have, followed me on my journey, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to bring Lurie in and to really talk in depth about what he did in doing incredible things to develop this Aparthotel. So just a quick brief intro to both of us. So yeah, my name's Emma Howitt, and I have been in property for about 4 years. I started off with no knowledge and no money, so I started off with rent-to-rent serviced accommodation. I ran that for a number of years successfully and then sold that business. And then last year, Lurie and I together did this development into our currently open Aparthotel. So that's pretty exciting. So Lurie, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself on Clubhouse and just doing a brief introduction to yourself before we jump into the questions.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Lurie Dontu, and I came to England a couple of decades now ago, straight into the construction industry. I run a carpentry company. We developed flats. I've been involved in commercial conversions in the middle of London. And from 2019, I decided to go full-time on property. And as Emma mentioned, last year we developed a building, a language school, into an Aparthotel together. A very interesting deal structure. There was as well, which we're going to cover today.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that. I've now got the dogs barking in the background. It all happens here. I love it. So yeah, well, let's jump in. And yes, thank you so much. Hi, Hamish, Leonie, Sue, Mirren. Really fantastic to have everybody. There's so many of you on here today. We appreciate you being here with us. So let's jump straight into it. Now, what we really wanted to cover off today is all about the development side. So I know we've spoken about how this is a lease option, how we found it, all of those kind of things. But I think a lot of people, and especially when we did our case study day earlier on in the year, at the end of last year, actually, wasn't it? People were inherently so interested in how we did the development, because it really was a sort of a big development. Was it kind of the biggest that you've done, Lurie, or how does it kind of work as far as it goes for your size of projects that you've done before?
Well, definitely is the biggest I've done as a property investor. So it kind of, the deals I invested in and the financial stuff as well. But I've done, a bigger development for the clients, obviously, and as a main subcontractor and stuff. But in terms of you are getting involved not just in the building side of it, in financing it, on the planning stages and structuring the deal in the first place, the acquiring the deals and all that, finding the deal in the first place. So all this is, this is the biggest so far.
Absolutely. So then let's try and cast us back. And we found it really interesting when we did our case study day to go back and literally go through emails, the first emails to the agents and all of that. It was, really amazing to really follow and relive the whole journey. But inherently what we had was subject to planning. didn't we? So we went through pre-planning application and then the full planning application. We won't go into the ins and outs of that, but that was, you know, supposed to be plain sailing, a little bit painful at times. But then we got the planning literally on the Thursday. So what had you done beforehand and to prepare for that? And obviously we didn't know, did we, when it was going to happen? We thought it was going to happen and then it didn't, and then it didn't, you know, usual scenario. So what did, you know, what had you done to sort of prepare for that? And then how quickly did you get going in doing that works to get started?
Yeah, the planning was, an interesting thing on its own, I think, but that's probably, it would be good to do another room on its own on planning, because that's a major, obviously, thing in property development as well. But we knew the layout because we've done the drawings, and we thought, we went through the building and we maximized the potential of the current layout and stuff. So we've done all that. So then we started to get the quotes from the builders, and we had 7 to 10 meetings every week with different builders. Some came back, they needed to look more into this. Some came, into the building only for 15 minutes, and then just thrown a quote, that was over the roof and stuff. So it makes you thinking, what's going on and stuff. We had the opportunity, obviously, because we've been trusted the keys for the day to just to get through and stuff. But because the whole structure of the deal was subject to planning, as you mentioned, Emma, we couldn't lift up the floors. We couldn't go into the structure of the building, into the way the joists are running. I'm going a bit technical now, but I think this is very important. We couldn't do a lot of the investigation that you would have done, because we would have damaged the building, which potentially will cost us obviously money to put it back in case we don't get the planning. And we can't go with the PLO that we agreed. So we only could do a certain investigations, and the builders, they wanted to know what's happening before they quote, obviously, what's happening under the floors, how they're going to run the pipes, how they're going to run the cables, and all that. So we were limited on that, but we still managed to find a decent main contractor to do the work.
So just sort of stepping back a bit and thinking back through the way it went is obviously it's really key, isn't it, to kind of get like for like quotes so that you can really compare. And I do remember a number of times we just have this constant stream of contractors coming through, and you absolutely reminded me of one particular chap who wanted to be the main person to run the whole show, and he came, didn't he? And take in consideration it's five stories, so it's a big old building, so it takes it's unless you're fit, it takes quite a few minutes just to walk to the top, and then obviously you need to walk into all the rooms and then all the way walk back down. He was there for 15 minutes, and how many calls did he answer? Did he answer like 3 calls as well? It was quite.
I've done a post on Facebook, I remember, and I found a really, really funny cartoon picture of a couple of builders, and this is made me laugh, because in the way some of them behave, they were really looking like that, like a cartoon builders. So very interesting. Obviously, I know how well, being from the building industry and being around them, for a number of years, I know that if they're busy and they're not interested, they will still quote, but they will quote over the world. So if they get the job, they will, potentially postpone or offset some of the other jobs they've got and do it because they can earn a huge amount of money. But if not, then, they build polite and they just, quote it and stuff. So, that the one you're talking about, that was, the one that quoted 500,000 plus the VAT. And and this is it, and being 15 minutes in the building.
Yeah. I found that really extraordinary because I'm really reasonably new to this kind of thing, and to have that quantity of people, and the ones that were genuinely really interested and actually spoke to us and were asking pertinent questions, that was kind of like, well, I feel much more confident with somebody like you. And then obviously, some of them I think didn't even come back with quotes, did they? But the ones that came back with quotes, and they really had broken it down to a detailed level, really enabled us to sort of understand their interest, their commitment, all of those kind of things. So how did you then, because it was quite overwhelming for me, in fairness, you just had this kind of pile of emails and quotes, and how did you then sort of sift through them? Obviously we still didn't even have planning at this point. How did you sort of start sifting through them and started thinking, well, these are the people that I'm keen to work with? What was sort of your process in working through all these quotes that were coming in?
Yeah, you have obviously, and that's, the best tip is you don't go with the lowest, and obviously we wouldn't have gone with the highest. So somewhere in the middle, and you can see, a number of them are, roughly in the middle. And you just go through them. You look at the details of what they quote, and we had a program of, quite intense program. So time-wise, we were very sensitive as well. So the way they can structure, I started to talk to them, how many guys you're going to put in here, what you're going to do and when, and what's going to happen with materials. Kind of stuff. So you're starting to investigate, who they are and can they deliver or not, which is obviously very important as well, because delays, it will cost you money and it will cost you time, which is, a hotel time-wise is losing money as well. So we started to digest, and go through this and picking up, the ones that can deliver.
Yeah, and interestingly, you brought that up. So this program of works, you coming from that building background, it was really clear in your head. I remember you saying, and I'm thinking there's a lot of rooms here, there's huge amounts to be done. And you were kind of like, yeah, it's fine. We just start here and these people come in and it kind of like just sort of rolls down the building. Can you sort of explain how you saw that kind of working through? Because I think that would be really interesting. It was tremendously interesting for me to see that process and how you viewed this kind of program of works, because you thought it was very clear, very simple. And when you explained it to me, I was a bit like, wow, gosh, if that can work, that would be amazing.
Yeah, obviously, yes, it's five-story building with loads of classrooms full of furniture. This is what we had, to begin with. And but ultimately, when you break it down, is we know we need the services we know we need the new shower rooms in the rooms. So we know we need to feed them with hot and cold water and waste. And then you start to break them into floors, and then you start to break them into rooms. And they are roughly the same amount of say services, say of electric stuff and plumbing to do in each room, regardless of their size, because size will dictate, you know, potentially a bit more flooring to do and a bit more of plastering and painting, you know, but that's a square meter. All the rest is, you know, exactly the same amount of work. So then you start to break them into rooms and how long the trade is going to spend in that room. So say, you know, the dry liner comes, he builds the, you know, the walls and the first fix, you know, so only covers one part. Then the plumber comes, gets his pipes. Then the electrician comes, you know, gets his cables and all that. So everything was placed in the new walls and in the new ceilings. So it was fairly easy. But yes, you need to explain it all to the builders when they come, so they understand that they're not going to hit or what they're going to hit, you know, exactly what problems they're going to hit when they start to run these services and stuff. So, yeah, we were working together with them, you know, to just to break it into the bits and pieces and then see where we are. And yeah, the ones we chosen, they quoted exactly, you know, per unit, per connection and all that kind of stuff. And I think this is where we've made it very easy for them to understand. And we've made it, you know, good for us because the quotes came accurate.
Amazing. And then on top of that, it was kind of like, wasn't it? So exactly as you said, each one, it was, and you split it into floors. So we started off on the top floor and it was kind of like the first two rooms. So I can't remember, but the dry liner, wasn't it? So the dry liner, we're going to spend this much time in these two rooms, and then he'd go on to the next two rooms on the top floor, and then the next one would come into those two rooms. And it was kind of like this cascade of kind of each trade following this kind of order of rooms going down. Is that something that you'd sort of done before, or kind of it just seemed to work for you?
Yeah, Emma, yeah, as I mentioned, you know, I managed builders in central London. We were developing offices and galleries, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So we were going into the office building on Friday, 6 p.m. when obviously the people leaving, you know, for the weekend, and when they come back Monday morning, instead of 2 offices, there were 3 offices, you know, in the exact space. So this is where I learned how, you know, and what's possible if you structure it right, you know, who comes first, who comes second, and all that. Then you can manage an amazing, you know, speed that you can deliver these projects. I know that's a bit extreme, you know, in 2 nights and 3 days, you know, to convert that kind of stuff. But yeah, I used exactly the same structure and planning to manage this project, obviously. So and I had to pass it to obviously to the trades and to the builders, for them to understand. And when they looked at this, you know, because first of all, they were scared as well. You know, you spend an hour in the building, you don't know what's going where and stuff. And then when you lay it out to them, when they come the second visit and you lay it out to them, you know, and you sit down together, say, with a couple of them, and they understand, yes, that will work, that it is possible to do it. So, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, it really was a sort of a tremendous thing to sort of see and visualize. And once you had it sort of on paper and showing that routine, and it just like, once you've done 2 rooms, it's just rinse and repeat, next two, coming down. So it was interesting. And another thing that I had was new to me was things like very early on, we had to understand, you know, where the shelves were going to go. We obviously needed to know exactly how big let's say the headboards were going to be, where all of the sockets were going to be, exactly where the the lights were going to be, and all of these kind of things. And I think that the shelves to me were the biggest thing. Is I'm just there gaily saying, yeah, we're doing this, and you're like, no, we really need to know exactly where, what height, what fixings we're going to be using. And I'm thinking, but this is like months away. So yeah, with regards to that, how did you find our kind of planning around where all the kind of fixtures were going to be, and did it kind of work out in the end? Were you happy with what we sort of did?
Yeah, yeah, Emma, you are the exact client, every builder will have in his life. When it's all finished and nicely painted, they come and they say, oh, can I have a shelf here? Oh yes, but here's nothing behind that wall, to hold it. And obviously, the way we build this Aparthotel is, and we use the materials, and it is to last. And this way you save, in the long run. So we need to know exactly where and what is going to be. Lighting design as well. We place the lights exactly above the tables and exactly in the middle of the kitchenette. And that far away from the wall, and then exactly in the middle of the little lobby, should we call it, as you come into the room, exactly in the middle of that space and stuff. And then the shelves, we know exactly where the microwave is going to sit. We know exactly where the socket is going to be for that microwave, and all that you need before you start, because this will dictate where you and how you build your walls and stuff. The plumbing, the waste pipes and all that, everything should go through these walls, and nothing should be in the way, and this way you gain speed. And then the contractors, they feel happy, because it goes smoothly. It looks like somebody thought about this, and this is a huge amount of prep to do before you start to build, and it's very important.
Yeah, I think it was a real kind of vision, and it really forced us very quickly. I mean, we knew early on that we had to, and we'll come on to this in a second, but we had to make every penny count. And at that moment, wasn't it, when we priced the kind of deal and agreed to go ahead with it, it was when kind of prices were quite normal, and it was in the middle of last year when prices were just going through the roof. So it was a scary moment for us, wasn't it? But to have that vision and to really know what kind of materials we were going to be using up front, and some of them were a bit extreme. I remember when I said to you, I think we should use scaffolding boards. We can get them really cheap, they're really sturdy, I think they can be really impactful. And I remember you looking at me going, I thought we were having a really smart hotel. It's like, we are going to have a smart hotel. And that's where we sort of started looking through those things. So so that is really, really sort of interesting. But moving on to that, and I think sort of going on to the sort of costings of that, unless there was anything else to bring up, I think we'll keep that. But yeah, going through with the costing. So how did you, I suppose, how did you like alleviate this nightmare that we basically had, where suddenly all the quotes that we'd had and all our pricing that we'd put into place the year before was just suddenly exploding, and we definitely had a budget to stick to. What did you do about that? What were the kind of elements that helped you stick to your budget, so to speak?
Negotiations, obviously, and again, we are part of LNPG, and that gave us, the advantage of negotiating with, trading shops, and have massive discounts. Can
you give an example? Because I think we had a couple of classics, amazing savings with LNPG, for instance.
Yeah, we well, they do every month. LMPG does savings on certain things, and we managed to get the paint when it was before we needed that paint. We called the shop and we said, listen, we need this amount of paint. We don't know the colors. We know roughly, but we only, if we can reserve the base of this paint and this amount, then we will email you the colors. You can mix them up and deliver them, as we go. And they agreed to this. It was a large quantity, so we managed to save, a good 20-25% on that. And then the tiles, that was an amazing saving. We like the tiles very much, and they came up, on sale that month. So again, because we knew the layout, we knew the amount of shower rooms, and we just reserved, the amount of tiles we need, which was in hundreds of square meters. And they've been delivered, at the 2-day notice to when we needed them, and so we didn't have to store them. And we had, we bought them for £15 a square meter, and the original price was 46. So that's a massive saving on that. And then everybody complimented our bathroom doors, didn't they, Emma? They're lovely doors, really, really nice quality. They were end of the line. They had exactly 18 doors, the amount we needed. And we managed to get them for £60 a door, and they were 220. So a massive saving on that one as well. And then, everything else, we incorporated into design. Your VA found a couple of deals on the shelving brackets and legs for our tables and stuff. So, in terms of...
I think, just jumping in there, I think a lot of it as well, to me, was being flexible. So it was kind of like, okay, this is... I remember with the tiles, you said to me, I had this kind of picture in my mind as to, I was very much, wasn't I? I want it to be white. I just want it simple, clean, white. Everything else, if we want to put a color on the wall, a bit of paint, that's fine, but I want it to be white. And anyway, you showed me these tiles and I was a bit like, oh, they're not white and they're a bit undulating. I could see that they were really expensive and they were really lovely. And I had to just go, just be open, Emma. Really have a think about it, but and now I absolutely love them, and they answer every single need. And I think sometimes we're closed to being open, aren't we? So they're kind of undulating, they've got little flecks in them, so they're actually, and obviously they're very expensive tiles, so they're incredibly good quality. But what it does is it's very forgiving, especially from a cleaning perspective. So with a serviced accommodation, you don't want things to suddenly show any kind of tiny mark or anything like this. So I think, that was a big one for me, was that whole kind of being completely flexible and open, and especially with the doors. I remember, you showed me with the doors, and in fact, one of my great friends, she hated the doors. And we were kind of like vehemently hated them, didn't she? And it was like, I don't think they're that bad. I actually think they're really good, and they look nice, and I think they tie in with all the other ideas we've got with the design. So yeah, we definitely had, and certainly later on when it came to doing the colours and the carpets, oh my gosh, I mean, we just had so many nightmares with carpets, and yes, we want to go with that carpet, and then oh, you now don't have stock of it. Well, why did you tell us we had stock of it? That's why we chose it. So lots of kind of crazy things like that, wasn't it? So yeah, and the other thing that you didn't sort of highlight is you literally went through every invoice with a fine-tooth comb. You would see that, last week we paid, I don't know, X pound for this soundboard, and then the week later they've charged more, and you would find somewhere else where it was then cheap, and you go back to them and say, look, either we don't have it, or you give me last week's price, or I'll go with this person. And I thought that was, you were so detailed. I mean, I know we had to be. And then also, as you say, my wonderful virtual assistant, Lurie, I could see was spending quite a lot of time on things, and we really needed to save money on things. And so I'd say, look, we can just get, you know, my lovely VA to just go off and she can do that research. Okay, it might come down to some basics, but she's going to be able to go off and do that. So yeah, remembering what resources you've got, I suppose. So yeah, that was quite good. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, we saved a lot on soundproofing stuff, because it had, we went to the manufacturer, but they have to sell it through the builder's merchant. They can't sell directly. So yeah, the Juisons, they quoted us, you know, I wouldn't remember, something around 7,500 on the whole lot. And then I went, you know, I started shopping into, there is a shop in London, and I went on their website, and if you buy a pallet of this chipboard, then it would have been, you know, cheaper. So I just emailed them, you know, the prices from that shop, and they dropped it from 7,500, I think they dropped it to 6,300. So we saved a lot on that, you know. And they said, sorry, we will make sure, you know, you're not getting overcharged in the future and stuff. You still need to, you know, to chase and check on a number of things. But yes, we were getting quotes before we buy. And yeah, we were obviously on the top of these things.
Yeah, no, that was, yeah, you were very much on top of that. So we've got Snita has asked a question. Did you come within budget?
Well,
and expand a little bit on that, because I mean, what you achieved was amazing. What did you manage to do per square meter?
Yeah, I'll come back in a minute to this. The budget, because initially what we thought, Emma, we thought, you know, we will do a basic thing, and you know, and yeah, just to get it running and stuff. And as you go into the build and stuff, then you realize that there is more potential. You can upgrade a little bit on things, but they will last longer and they will save you money in the long run. So you opt, you know, as you go.
So, an example of that, would that have been like the bathroom, you know, like taps, things like that? Is that kind of the things that you were talking about?
Bathroom taps, yeah, you upgrade the quality, but the most amazing stuff is the infrared heating that we went for, and the smart switches, light switches, so everything can be, you know, managed remotely. And yeah, I mean, the commodity prices nowadays, you know, it only takes you that, you know, they're saying, why are you a bankrupt? And he's saying, because I forgot to switch off the lights.
Yeah.
So yeah, we opted for smart stuff, so we can save on the long run. Yeah, that's the budget obviously expands a little bit on these, but you are saving on the long run. And yeah, in terms of the square meters and the price per square meter, we managed to achieve £850 a square meter. Yes, it is a very good, but there is a lot of hard work to achieve this. Yeah. An old Victorian building, you know, we completely redeveloped everything in the building. A lot of technologies, and the plant room on its own, you know, it's a state of the art, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it might be worth, I mean, we'll come on to some of these things as well, but I think we need to start sort of admitting some of the things that didn't go right, let's just say. And in fairness, the lady that I can't remember her name, but the lady that founded shop.com or shopping.com, she has billions in turnover. One of her things that she says is that she eats problems for breakfast and then gets on with the day. And that's literally how I felt with Lurie. I'd arrive and there'd just be this like, it was almost like a to-do list, but it was like a things that have gone wrong list. And it was like, we just had to work through them individually, what we're going to do to solve this. There was never any kind of like, oh, why has this happened? Oh, well, so this is terrible. It was just like, problem, let's find the solution. What can we do? So let's start off right at the beginning when we had the just a few of the problems that we're going to touch on, because I know I really want to keep going and cover off our eco side of the things as well. But you know, right from the start, we got the planning permission on the Thursday. We were all set with our contractor, weren't we, to start work on the Monday. What happened?
Well, yeah, I went on the phone on Friday, you know, to the builder that we chosen, and I said, "Oh, listen, it's, you know, it's happening. That's it, you know. Yeah, who are you gonna send on Monday? You know, let's start on Monday, because we had 2 months rent free, so we wanted to take advantage of this and just get, you know, the things wrapped up as quick as possible." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry to say, we didn't know that, you know, you're going to get the planning or not. So we have taken another job and we have taken the deposit for that job. So we can't do yours." So what do you do? What do you do? It's only 2 months rent free. The PLO triggered, you know, is triggered by the planning permission. So we are in it up to our ears. We need to do the development, and there is nobody to do it. We had no choice but to manage it ourselves, obviously. So I jumped on it. I had a couple of handymen and laborers, and we started to strip out the building on Monday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's so that was our first thing, and in fact we'll jump onto it now. But Sunita has asked, you know, did you feel out of your depth at all throughout this project?
Well, it was very time sensitive as well. So and that's
just because obviously it's an Aparthotel. We wanted it open kind of July time to maximize the summer. So that was also the planners hold us for another 5 weeks, I believe. So we started, you know, beginning of April, and we wanted to start, you know, we wanted to take full advantage of March as well. And it was challenging because of that. It was challenging with the builders again. You know, we've been left, you know, with to pick up bits and pieces from those quotes that we had before, and we've been challenged by my leased car. You know, had to go back mid-July, and I'm based in London, and the project is in Folkestone. So I'm on all the train strikes and all that. You know, it was challenging just to get to the job, all this, it was really challenging. But well, I've done it before, and I was keep going. We will keep going, didn't we? Yeah, absolutely. So going on to the sort of eco side, I mean, it comes from a perspective where my business is eco-conscious, high-tech homes from home. So that was always a big thing that we always had in the back of our minds, and also on an economic side of things. So you heard me talk about we've got a lot of scaffolding boards, and they're something that we are able to purchase extremely cheaply. They're very easy to make into statement pieces, to change colors, to do various things. That alongside that enabled us to be really kind of industrial. So we had, you know, big industrial, you know, hanging rails and what are those things these things, what are they called?
The brackets,
that's what I'm looking for. Sorry. You know, brackets and things like that on the walls. But and even down to our carpets, you know, obviously they needed to be really cost efficient, but we've got English wool in our carpets as well. And so there was so many things that we call it eco-conscious. So we would look at absolutely everything and see, is there any way that we can, in a cost-efficient way, make that better? So I know one of the things, so for us, it's kind of, you know, it's thinking about the sustainability, natural materials. I looked into detail in biophilic design. So I don't know if anyone knows anything about that, but that's all about, even if you're building, it's all about bringing the natural inside. So you'll look at some buildings and you'll see these big kind of columns, and they're supposed to look like sort of internal trees. And gosh, there's just, you know, it's ensuring that where the people are sitting, that it's near a really bright window, and having the design within those rooms as well. So it was very interesting. And then on top of that, making it very minimalistic. So that was huge for us, wasn't it? We wanted it to be very minimal but still really impactful. So in fact, if people, you're sat in the hotel, Lurie, they can see that the wall behind you, you know, it's one tiny bit of wall, we've got color there, and then also we've got a single picture. So we wanted to keep everything fresh, simple, but also this kind of real flexibility, and also community. So it was looking at whom we could use locally, what people we could get input with, and that was really, really huge for us. So going back to how we came to do I think the biggest bit for us was obviously sort of heating the building, and obviously having like loads of where you put what are they called, radiators. They take up so much room, especially in an apart hotel. So do you want to sort of talk us through how we kind of came to using infrared? Because I know for some that's a complete new technology, but how we sort of decided to come to that in the end.
Yeah, as you say, Emma, we were thinking about you know, eco apart hotel design and concept. So we started to explore, you know, what we can incorporate into the build, as well as the design and stuff. So we started to think about the energy efficiency of you know, our heating and lighting system along with this, and then what health benefits this gonna bring into, you know, into the hotel, and for our guests, you know, future guests and stuff. And then will they feel comfortable, you know, in our rooms with all the features and all that? Because infrared, you know, makes you feel amazingly comfortable, you know, because of the way it works. And then durability, you know, how long this is gonna last. And again, you know, coming back to, you know, saving in the long run on things. And then low maintenance. You know, the traditional wet heating system, you need to, you know, service, you need to maintain every year. It could be, you know, a potential leak and all that kind of stuff, which, you know, we eliminated all these in the first place. So yeah, this is when we came across the infrared heating panels, and we started to look into, well, who you know, who is selling, who is producing them. Can we actually look at this, you know, at the ready-made buildings, and can we, you know, feel it? Can we try, you know, anywhere else? And this is the power of your network, isn't it, Emma? and we came across a lady, and she invited us into one of her HMOs. And we came in and we looked, and there was, a little square thermostat on the wall. And she said, "This is it. I can't show you anything else."
And we were warm.
Which was, yeah, it was really funny, wasn't it? And she turned it on, and we started to feel it, in a couple of minutes' time. And there was a tenant in there. We asked him, "What do you think?" He said, "It's amazing." And this is when we decided to go for it.
Yeah, and it had already been, she'd had it for a year, hadn't she? So we were really fortunate. She'd already done a full cycle. She'd used the particular supplier that we were interested in using, and she had one issue, and they'd been literally on it. They'd been there, they'd repaired it, they even covered off something. So it was clear that they were really committed to a fantastic service. So yeah, I think for us that was an absolute no-brainer, especially it was two streets away from us, in the same town, and to see that going was pretty amazing. So yeah, we really like that. And to answer, so somebody had asked a question. Oh, Sue had asked about how we manage that remotely. So all of the light switches and all of the infrared, they're on like an app, and so we have control. So we can we can just turn on now, we can pick up our phone and turn it on, and we can turn the heating down, we can turn the heating up. But on top of that, what we can do is we can schedule. So for instance, every day we would schedule at sort of 10 o'clock the heating goes right down. Now obviously at this time of year we're not going to turn the heating off, so to speak. We're going to turn it down to keep the warm at a reasonable temperature. But come the middle of the summer, we would be turning the heating off or down, and then you'd turn the heating back on at a time when people are coming in. So you've got complete and utter flexibility, and it's the same with the lights as well. Is we have them on a monitor, so that they will turn on, and if people want to turn the heating back up again, they can, but then we turn it back down again, because inherently you don't want that you do get in service accommodation, don't you, where they wash their clothes and then they turn the heating right up to dry it with all the windows open. So it's just ensuring that we're able to really sort of be economical with those things as well. So I think that was really, really quite incredible. And I think for me, I can't stop touching these light switches as well. They were just I'm like a child, aren't I? I'm literally like it's just like a screen of glass, and you just touch it. I suppose it's like an iPad. It's just got this circle and you touch it and it's like, wow. And then I love doing it where you're in the room and then you turn the lights off by your phone, and it's like, I love doing that with the kids, and they're like, what's happening? So you can have a lot of fun with that, can't we? So so I think tell us about now we've sort of coming into that with the plant room as well, how you sort of formulated that, because that was a huge part. Oh, and by the way, sorry, before I go, Ingrid has said, what EPC rating did we get? Do you want to just quickly run by the EPC?
Yeah, obviously we had to do a commercial EPC assessment, which is different. It goes more in depth of the building and structure and what you've done to it. And I was looking for a surveyor, that understands, the modern technologies and the infrared heating and all that. And we managed to find one up north, and he traveled all the way down, to Folkestone. We went through the building, and I explained him, everything we've done to the building and stuff. And it is really comfortable when you walk into the rooms. You don't feel, because of the amount of work we've done and the sound insulation that performs as, insulation anyway. And he feels really comfortable and stuff, and he understood that. So we managed to get a commercial EPC C.
Wow.
which is, it's really good because we know there is a lot of changes.
Amazing. And that really, I mean, I know for a fact that was, I think, possibly one of your proudest moments of the whole thing, to get that EPCC. I mean, that's phenomenal, in an old Victorian building where we're using very modern technology. You know, EPC don't really recognize so much the whole electric side of things. So you did such a phenomenal job on that. So we've just got a few minutes left, and I think we've been realistic, but I think it would be really good for people to understand a few more of the things that went wrong, because loads and loads of things did kind of go wrong, didn't they? So I don't know, I just wanted to touch on, perhaps you'd like to touch on our excitements and the learnings. I think we have to call it learnings that we had, for instance, with the building control, because I know that was a huge thing for us, and I think next time we're going to approach it differently. We're going to, you know, we've learned so much, but yeah, that did cause us some headaches along the way.
Yeah, obviously, again, we had the planning permission on Thursday and we started on Monday, so we had no much time to go through things, and the drainage and stuff. We had to put a new manual obviously to cope with 16 new showers, and there is you only trusted specific contractors to do it, and then it was all sorts of things that we were managing and pivoting in the different ways, to try and obviously do it right, because building control, obviously, it's an independent one we had, and it was on our side, and he wanted for us to, although we were running at the massive speed, he wanted us to do it right as well. And that's another advantage of managing yourself. You are on the top of things. You can see things happening, every minute, and you pivot, from one to the other, and you ensure the quality. You don't lose on the quality of works and stuff. We managed to do that. It obviously it took us a little bit longer than we wanted, but the result was, great.
Yeah, we definitely had some sort of major issues really answering exactly what he needed. But I think what was amazing, and again, guys, we got so much benefit from our network. So I'm in the BNI, for instance, and this particular chap, fortunately, is in my BNI network. And in between, because I was in the network, I'd be able to go and see him at a weekly meeting that we'd have, and Lurie would be like, you need to go and ask him this, go and ask him this, rather than actually, like normal, you're having to wait until each of your meetings. And there were so many people, so many trades that were really generous with their knowledge. And, so for me, the networks that we were in was so advantageous, wasn't it? And people would, as I say, just incredibly generous with their knowledge and their offerings and their help and their support. And, they want you to genuinely do well. So I think it was, for me, that was a really big thing. And then I just wanted to touch on, we had quite a few trades, didn't we? Now, I'm not saying it was you or us or the job or whatever, who just would up tools and leave, wouldn't they? I mean, we had one poor chap who had had a family bereavement. I mean, just awful. We had, in fact, there's, somebody else had another terrible, I'm not even going to go into it, something else terrible happened to one of their employees. We then had the, the external painter. Well, the first internal painters, they were just rubbish, weren't they? They were terrible. And then you got the next lot and they didn't speak any English, so only you could communicate with them. And then I remember rocking up and going, when are we going to finish the outside, Lurie? And you were like, he's just left. And I was like, what do you mean he's just left? And he was a really lovely chap. I really liked him. And I called him up thinking, oh, you know, I'll throw my weight around a bit. I'll be really lovely to him. I'll bring him back in. And he was just like, no, I can't come back. I've just got other jobs. I haven't got time to come back. I was like, are you serious? What, you're just happy to walk away and not finish the job? Like, you've got all these people looking at this building and you're happy to walk away. And he was, wasn't he? He just walked away. I mean, how did you deal with that, especially emotionally? Because that is quite a lot to deal with. It's like, really, when people can't even get the job done that they're there to do.
Yeah. It is hard, you know, emotionally. Yeah, you need to keep your, you know, put yourself together and keep going, obviously. And you need to get, you know, the job done. So we put our handyman, you know, to finish the lower part of the building, to paint. Some people will just take advantage, you know. Luckily, I haven't paid him the full amount, and we didn't lose money on these kind of things. But the carpenter, that, you know, they came again to avoid problems in the future. I wanted to do the sound test, you know, of, you know, a room or two kind of in the middle of the process. So we had to put some floors down, you know. And that guy said, yeah, I'll stay and I'll do all of the floors for you. And then he did, you know, 3 rooms and he disappeared. And he said, yeah, I'm not coming back and stuff, even to finish off the room. You know, all sorts, obviously. But yeah, I had to drive people from London because they were cheaper and they were available. The plumbers were, amazing, you know. All sorts. You name it, you know. You name a contractor, and I'll tell you, you know, the issue we had with them. So yeah, it was a lot.
Absolutely. Look, we've come to the top of the hour, and Lurie, thank you so much for sharing all this. I mean, it's just like the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? But we did do a case study day, and I did suddenly think it's shut. But if anyone would be interested we did an online one where people could buy it. So if anyone's interested, you know, drop us a DM and we'll open it up for 24 hours or 48 hours or something. I think it was 250, wasn't it? So we'll do it for 275. But yeah, thank you, Lurie. I really, really appreciate you sort of sharing that. There was, I mean, everything that could have gone wrong really did go wrong. But there was so much that went right, and there was so much that we learned from it. So we've got lots of people saying thank you so much, Mira and Sue, Leonie, thank you. Is there kind of like a closing comment, Lurie, of kind of what this journey meant for you?
It was great, and I tell you why I feel it was great. You know, it's obviously another experience of running your own investment buildings, and there is a positive. Obviously, we met our neighbors. We've been friends with them since, and we managed to do it quickly and on the budget. And because I've been around here, you know, most of the time, managing the build, somebody approached me and offered us, you know, another project, didn't they? So we've been offered, you know, another building, an office building, to turn it into an Aparthotel. And that was, you know, if I wasn't here, you know, managing the stuff and walking around the scaffold, potentially this wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely.
So if you can, for everybody in the audience, if you can get as much as possible involved, you know, into your developments, because you'll learn a lot and you'll have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, look, thanks so much, guys. Really great feedback from you. Really appreciate your kind words and sharing that story with us, Lurie. Thanks so much. So I'm going to close down now. It is half term next week, so I'm not going to be doing it. I'm going to be spending the week with the kids, but we'll be back the following week after that. So have a look out. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the room. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.